Welcome, everyone. We're just going to give it 1 minute here while we've got a bunch in the waiting room that are loading in. So let's just hang in. So welcome, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. I know that there are people that are being loaded in here to the webinar, but we want to make this as efficient as possible for everyone. Certainly welcome those that are able to join this evening. This was a very significant day, as all of you are aware, with the action taken by Commissioner McCary at the FDA and by Secretary Kennedy, where in a most incredible decision, they decided that they were going to formally submit a recommendation for scheduling for 7-hydroxymitragynine products because of their synthetically derived uh, uh, the formulation of the product synthetically derived that obviously puts them into the category of being an opioid because they have full binding affinity to the mu opioid receptors. And because of that, they have all of the liabilities that are associated with opioids, both in terms of addiction liability and potential impacts on respiratory suppression. And so this bold move by both FDA and HHS in combination with the secretary and the commissioner together appearing in a press conference the way that they did sent a powerful message to the Drug Enforcement Administration that this was something that was unified. You just don't see this kind of activity at that high of a level, except for the priority was placed on the action that was taken. And I invite everyone to read or read and watch the press conference transcript and watch the video itself, where you can see that Commissioner McCary, this wasn't just something he was going to, uh, as a one-off because he had to do it. He understood the issue. He was prepared to discuss it in detail. And he responded to the questions magnificently. So he wasn't just checking a box. He was literally helping us in this whole battle that we were going through in order to get this decision made. Of course, it caused a lot of consternation in the 7OH community. But in terms of significant days, I can count in 2016 when the DEA formally withdrew their scheduling recommendation and allowed and required the FDA to come up with their eight-factor analysis. On August 16th of 2018, when Secretary Joie went and formally withdrew the recommendation for scheduling that had been approved by the acting Assistant Secretary for Health, transmitted by the FDA, and called it embarrassingly poor evidence and data and a failure to consider the overall public health. And then when we started to look at the solution being with the states, the first passage of the Kratom Consumer Protection Act in 2019, sponsored by Senator Kurt Bramble at the time, passed. The Utah legislature was signed by the governor. And now today we have 18 states that have enacted this law, an enormously significant effort. And that's been in the face of a lot of opposition that internally developed by the 7OH people and some even Kratom vendors of products that decided that they wanted to have a different kind of approach to the regulatory structure. All significant events. And then we obviously looked at the significance of the one state that had banned kratom that flipped this year, and that was the state of Rhode Island. And I think I saw that Representative Brian Patrick Kennedy is on this call tonight. What a magnificent champion Brian Kennedy was to help us, because this took an enormous lift to be able to advocate for removing a ban in the face of strong opposition from the Department of Health within the state government and the Department of Behavioral Health and a host of stakeholders who had unified around the substance abuse community and those recovery groups that were obviously making money on people that were struggling with addictions, that didn't want to see kratom actually be available, that would compete with their the products that they use to treat people, and they simply didn't want that to happen. And despite the fact that against those enormous odds, Representative Kennedy was able to persuade his colleagues to pass it, and then the governor vetoed it last year. And that did not deter Representative Kennedy. He insisted on and got a meeting with the governor. I was fortunate enough to participate directly in that meeting to hear the passion and the articulate description by Representative Kennedy of the reasons why the KCPA should be enacted into law in Rhode Island, and why the governor should say to his health agencies that were opposed to it why he should tell them they're wrong. And from that meeting was an agreement that was reached, and it was a fabulous agreement in the sense that the governor said that if you'll pass the bill with working with my staff, and we can come to a common agreement on negotiated terms of what the bill should say, I'll sign it. And so this year, when the legislature, again, through this magnificent effort by Representative Kennedy, passed the bill and it went to the governor, the governor got the same kind of opposition from the stakeholders in state government, from the so-called substance abuse recovery groups, and from people in the kratom industry that didn't like some of the provisions that were in it that restricted some products that are problematic. And despite all of that, the governor signed it, and we had an enormous victory. And I count it as one of the most significant days in my journey in watching the public policy development of kratom and the appropriate regulatory framework for it that has been accomplished to date. Rivaling that is what happened today. Obviously, one of the biggest threats to the kratom consumer in the United States today has been the explosion of the 7-hydroxymitragynine or 7-OH products. And the thing that is most amazing about it is that you have an industry that was doing one thing, in my opinion, and that was to exploit the marketplace by calling their products kratom products. And you've seen it over and over again, enhanced kratom alkaloids. These are not kratom products. There's no way that you can justifiably call them that. And yet these market exploiters did that in order to deceive the kratom consumers. You purchased that product thinking that it was a pure kratom product. They marketed as though it were a better kratom product, and the effects, in fact, were more powerful. Doesn't mean it's better, obviously. And that power came from the fact that it was synthetically altered and manipulated, very similar to what's happened in the hemp industry, where you get the Delta 8 and Delta 10s that are synthetically manipulated and are responsible for calls for those kinds of intoxicating products to be removed. And the same thing was happening in the kratom industry. So when Secretary Kennedy and when Commissioner McCary stood up and drew the bright line, the most significant part of that was that the FDA has identified what I would consider to be a major victory for both science and consumer safety, because they formally recognized that 7-OH is a potent synthetic opioid. Let that sink in. It is an opioid by the description and the specific wording of Commissioner McCary. It's not comparable, and he drew the distinction to natural alkaloid profile of kratom. This scheduling recommendation is the most significant federal action to date to separate dangerous synthetic derivatives from the botanical kratom itself. And so I think that is very significant. Now, what the opponents say is that, oh, 7-OH is kratom. It is not. It is not. When you take and synthesize something, you cannot legitimately call it kratom. And that's why the action by the HHS and the FDA were so important. We know, and Commissioner McCary cited the fact that 7-OH occurs only in trace amounts, typically less than 0.1% from the drying and the oxidization process that occurs after the leaves are harvested and dried in order to grind them into a powder for shipment into the United States. When you take the naturally occurring levels of 7-OH, which do not create any safety issue for a consumer, even in the levels of 7-OH that appear after they've been oxidized in the heating or drying of those leaves. And then after you ingest them, of course, your liver converts some of the mitragynine into 7-hydroxymitragynine. Even at those levels, all of that is safe. But when you synthetically enhance it, when you boost it, when you use chemical oxidization of the mitragynine in order to create this more powerful, more potent product, then you know that there's a problem. I walked the aisles of the Champ Show in Las Vegas, and that's a trade show where there are alternative products. And Kratom has had a good space within that trade show for the past 5 or 6 years, maybe a little longer than that. And today, in the last week in the Champ Show, the 7-OH vendors had overwhelmed the Kratom marketplace. There were over 170 exhibitors of 7-OH products, which documents how dominant they have been in seizing legitimate Kratom consumers, converting them to use 7-OH on the premise, the false premise, the fraudulent premise that Kratom, that 7-OH is Kratom. It is not, and yet they convince people of that, and that's what accounts for the success in the marketplace. Now, the people at the Champ Show that were representing the 7-OH marketplace said, "Oh, well, the AK is just upset because this is a turf war." I think that that's cynical. I think well, it's incorrect. This is about consumers, and the war is between safely formulated, properly manufactured Kratom products that have a specific serving size for which there is a reasonable basis for safety, meaning science, with labeling documenting the serving size that's recommended by the manufacturer, as opposed to the Wild West of the 7-OH marketplace, where they have no science, zero. There is not a single published peer-reviewed article that documents the safety of 7-OH products in the marketplace today. Early on, they started at about 7.5 milligrams in the serving sizes that they were recommending. As I walked the show, there were 160 milligrams, there was 180 milligrams, there was 200 milligram products. These are dangerous products, particularly when you consider what Commissioner McCary said, that they are full-blown, full agonist opioids that hit the mu opioid receptor system in your body. So the bottom line is these are not traditional or safe Kratom products. They are designer opioids using Kratom's name as a marketing smokescreen. And that's all that was happening. The FDA science confirms the safety threat to consumers. According to the scientific report, which is available on the FDA's website, you go to fda.org front slash 7OH, and you will see, and you can download the report that was published by the FDA today, confirming the safety threat to the American people. According to that scientific report, 7-OH binds with very high affinity to the mu opioid receptors, like morphine and fentanyl. They didn't say that it has a partial agonist, which we know Kratom is. They said it has a very high binding affinity. They said it causes respiratory suppression, dependence, and withdrawal symptoms when it's consumed, and the consumption patterns, you very quickly become addicted to this 7-OH. And it was shown in animal studies, according to the FDA, to be 3 to 5 times more potent than morphine in some of the models that they used in order to do this testing. So clearly, the safety threat has been established, and the FDA, of course, acted on it when they made their proposal for scheduling as a Schedule I substance with the Drug Enforcement Administration. The Kratom advocates should support this scheduling action. What will happen now is the Drug Enforcement Administration will make a decision about a publication in the Federal Register. We all remember that happened in 2016 on August the 31st when they published the Federal Register notice, and they used the Emergency Scheduling Authority, which gave a 30-day period prior to the implementation of the scheduling without any comment or judicial review. That's not going to be the case here. The 8-factor analysis submitted by the FDA requires that it be conventional Schedule I scheduling, so there will be a Federal Register notice. There will be a comment period established by the DEA, could be 30 to 60 days, and it will allow for public comment. And so there will be an opportunity for the Kratom community to stand up and defend the safety of the natural Kratom leaf and properly extracted kratom extract products using FDA-approved food-grade solvents, as opposed to these isolated, chemically manipulated, and boosted for their potency 7-OH products. We will have the opportunity and we must seize it, because I guarantee you that the 7-OH marketplace is going to try to flood the DEA with comments that oppose the scheduling. The problem that they will have, and it is a fundamental one, they have zero science. The best that they can come up with is a Beagle study that they very quickly published, despite the fact that there are significant safety defects that are evidenced in that Beagle study. And they tried to gloss over it when they described it during the debate at the Champ Show. But the experts that have evaluated it show that there were serious adverse events and that it was a improperly and poorly designed study. And it was changed after at the dose levels they originally predicted that would be safe, they had to dramatically be reduced in order to try to salvage the study. And even then, they weren't able to do it. So I think that our challenge here is to rise up. And as we did with the expert committee on drug dependence at the World Health Organization, when the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs was recommended scheduling internationally, we had over 80,000 comments that were submitted there. And I think we need to do what we can to raise the voices of the kratom community as we go forward in supporting this scheduling action. I think that the action by the FDA and HHS today helps strengthen the case for kratom regulation, not prohibition, because they have distinguished clearly the difference between the natural leaf and properly extracted products as opposed to these highly synthesized products. Now, I have heard it over and over again, and this is something that's very significant with the action taken by the FDA and HHS, is that you cannot tell the difference between kratom and 7-OH, and that's why it cannot be properly enforced and why you have to ban all of it. Here, the FDA has taken a firm position which says clearly that you can tell the difference, and they're asking the DEA to specifically schedule the substances that are synthetically derived, and that's important. And what our obligation is to promote federal and state legislation that sets safety standards, defines the legal limits on synthetic alkaloids like 7-OH, or in this case, a metabolite. And we have that at 2%, and we're going to enhance that provision to no greater than 1 milligram per serving. And we obviously want to protect consumers from mislabeled and dangerous products that are entering the marketplace. So from that standpoint, there's going to be a lot of information that we need to assimilate, to communicate to the DEA, and continue this fight. Obviously, we also need to make sure that the message to lawmakers and regulators is to do what we have advocated at the AKA from our very inception, and that is to follow the science. Don't believe the nonsense that the 7-OH advocates are now promoting, which says, and it's a great example in the debate, which is online, you can watch it, between the heart representative and myself. They actually said that it was their belief that the reduction in the overdose deaths that occurred right after the advent or the introduction of 7-OH products into the marketplace meant that was exactly what caused that reduction. Now, they did try to cover it and say, well, you can't draw correlations absolutely. And then they absolutely drew the correlation. And they made the claim that because the reduction in opioid overdose deaths came just about the time that the 7-OH products were introduced to the marketplace. What they ignored was at the same time, you had people coming out of COVID and where they had stayed in their homes, they've been isolated, they've been alone, and the spike in opioid overdose deaths occurred during COVID because people weren't socializing and there was no one present when an overdose took place that could assist that individual, call for help, and get emergency first responders. So that's more reliable information. And then at the very same time, the government authorized the sale and the ubiquitous availability of Narcan. And Narcan, as we all know, is something that can reverse an opioid overdose. And when there's someone there to help, which is true after COVID restrictions were lifted, that is by far the more rational view of what caused the reduction in the overdose deaths. And in fact, there have been prizes awarded to journalistic investigations that draw true correlations between those events as opposed to the flimsy, poorly documented, and ridiculous assertions by the 7OH people that it's 7OH that did that. That's just a bizarre construction of it. And I made the point in the debate, and I'll make it here, that in the military, when someone tries to claim responsibility for some heroic act and they weren't even present at the time, they call that stolen valor. And I think that it's an appropriate analogy here to suggest that the 7OH people are reaching hard because they want to try to cover the fact that they do not have any science. The second thing that these 7OH advocates are now arguing is that there has been this tremendous explosion of use of 7OH and it's saving people's lives. And they say if you look at the FAERS database, that's the FDA Adverse Event Reporting System, that you can see that there is a dramatic increase in the number of Kratom related reports about adverse events and deaths, where there are very few or none of 7OH. Now, here's the interesting fact about all of this. Number one, what they described as the FDA Adverse Event Reporting System as the most comprehensive and reliable database for these kinds of reports is simply ridiculous. The FDA Adverse Event Reporting System simply says that you or I or anyone can call that database and they can report an adverse event related to a Kratom product. You can do that. The FDA does not evaluate in any way the veracity of that report until they get a cluster of events that are associated, meaning that they have similar characteristics. And then the FDA does two things. One is they require the manufacturer of the product to conduct an internal investigation. Secondly, the FDA evaluates all of the data and evidence and they take action. So if there is a cluster of events, of adverse events or deaths, the FDA will take action based on what they consider to be reliable, verifiable data that would allow for that to happen. Does anyone believe that the FDA wouldn't be all over Kratom if they truly were able to draw the kinds of correlations that are required from an FDA adverse event reporting system where they are alleged deaths or adverse events? Because what the FDA has found consistently is that these are polydrug deaths or they are the result of adulterated Kratom products. Here's another issue that was identified by a representative from NMS Labs during the University of Florida Kratom Symposium in February. He presented information about the challenge that is confronted by both coroners and medical examiners in the United States today when they get a death report and they look at the tox screen. 7OH is so unstable, it isn't present in the bloodstream. And in fact, if the autopsy is delayed in any way for hours or a day, it's gone. And all that's left, which is common for all 7OH products, to have a trace amount of mitragynine in the bloodstream. And so what is the conclusion of the medical examiner or the coroner? It was a Kratom death. And that's the escape hatch that the 7OH people have, and yet they want to say that that's somehow reliable data. It is complete nonsense, and we have to fight against it. So this kind of misappropriation of science in order to try to justify the market presence, the failure is simple. Did the 7OH products have the evidence that at the time of market entry that is required by the federal law, which says specifically you have to have a reasonable basis for safety under the conditions of use prior to market entry? When the Heart Group approached the AKA back in October of last year, they claimed, one, that they had that science and swore on the oath that they would do it, that they had it. And secondly, they said that they would not market their products as Kratom. So we signed an agreement to that effect. As a part of the verification of those claims, we invited their chief scientist to come to a seminar a leadership symposium that we conducted in January of this year. And when they got there, the scientist said, well, we don't have any science. We're looking to develop that science, hopefully this year and by the end of 2025 and into 2026. And we believe that we're going to be able to present credible evidence that demonstrates the safety of these products under the conditions of use. So there was an admission clearly by their chief scientist that they had not met the federal requirement. And importantly, the products that were on the market at that time were violative and they should have been removed until and if they had that body of science that was available. Now they excuse all that and say, well, Kratom and Kratom extracts didn't have that market data prior to entry. That's not true. There are hundreds of peer-reviewed Kratom research papers addressing the safety profile of Kratom and all of its pharmacologic effects, which document and give to manufacturers a legitimate basis for the safety of their products. And then their burden is to identify what the serving size is, and that's the market, the threshold to market entry. The 7OH people had none of that. Zero peer-reviewed published articles, zero justification for being on the market. And that's what led us to withdraw from that agreement, as disappointing as it was, because we simply could not find any of the evidence that was required for that agreement to have had any integrity. And importantly, we could not tell the American people, Kratom consumers, that these products were appropriately manufactured and that they were safe for consumption. And so we terminated that agreement, and we have since worked hard to limit the amount of, in the state KCPAs, to limit the amount of 7OH that can be in a product and in a serving size as we're going forward. We're going to continue to do everything we can to keep Kratom safe, legal, and accessible. And the action today by the FDA and for the DEA, we want them to focus on the scheduling of 7OH and other dangerous synthetic derivatives, not Kratom or mitragynine. And that's what Commissioner McCary said. He was quoted specifically as saying, we're not concerned about Kratom, the natural Kratom or its derivatives. It is the enhanced products in terms of the 7OH products. We want the DA to focus on that. We want to make sure that that's where consumers are protected. We support the effort by the FDA to educate consumers about this. They sent a letter to every doctor in the country in showing the difference between 7OH products and Kratom, and we want to continue to support that effort as well. And we will not stand by while these bad actors jeopardize the access to Kratom by consumers by pushing unsafe synthetic products just for their profit. To whatever extent the 7OH people want to continue to make the claim that this is a turf war, I remind them that we are a consumer advocacy organization. We have shown and demonstrated with our actions that it's not about protecting companies. We have referred more than 140 companies to the FDA for making illegal therapeutic claims or not properly labeling their products. That's a fact. And the FDA has responded at least to some of those and taken action to remove them from the marketplace, including 7OH products. So when they point their finger at the AK and say, are you responsible for this? We say yes, because we worked hard to protect consumers and we will not apologize for it. We think that that's an important distinction as we go forward. Now, there's a lot of people out in the marketplace today, and what a great day this was in terms of the recommendation from the FDA and HHS trying to claim credit for how this happened. I don't care who played a part in this. I don't think it's appropriate for someone to say I had more of a part than others. I lay at the feet of those who are most responsible for this great event to be the consumers of Kratom that have stood up, wanting to protect their ability to purchase and use Kratom products that are safely formulated and properly labeled. That's who I think the heroes are. And it's often, there's an old adage that says that success has many fathers and failure is an orphan. So this is a day where lots of people can say, hey, I'm the one that orchestrated this. I can tell you that there are champions on Capitol Hill, Senator Lee and Senator Booker, Congressman Pocan and Congressman Bergman. They're the champions. They're the ones who have led the way. They're the ones who have set the benchmark, and they're the ones that have been the foundation upon which the FDA and HHS could take this action. And so I credit them more than any of these other people that are thumping their chest today saying, look at me, I was the one responsible for this. That's not the appropriate message we should be sending. We should be grateful and we should rally behind this significant effort. So I wanted to share all of that with you. I'm going to go first to those that have raised their hand, and we'll answer the questions there. Then we'll go to the Q&A, and I'm going to see if I can do this along with John Hicks. You're first.
Yes, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I hope you are as well.
Yeah. Hey, so it's real exciting. So I just have a question. What is the reason you're seeking to do Schedule 1? And why not just advocate for proper labeling? Because Schedule 1 actually puts people in jail. So are you okay with doing that to people who want to make their own decision?
So, a couple of things in response to that question. Schedule 1 is a designation for keeping an unsafe product off the marketplace. And so the targeted, the individual to be targeted by any enforcement action would be the manufacturers and distributors of those products. It is true that Schedule 1 does criminalize individuals who are consumers. And if they were behaving in a way that would put them at risk for incarceration. That would be an unfortunate outcome of this, but there's no possibility, and the 7-OH industry has demonstrated it, that they're going to behave. They refuse to label it properly as not a Kratom product. They refuse to have the science prior to selling their products. And so I think this is what we have to live with at this point. And I think the option for the government was very limited in terms of how they could approach this. So I think that's the best answer I can give you on that. But I appreciate the question. Let me go to Josh Long. Josh, you're up.
Hey, buddy, good to talk to you. So, I'm just
Sorry, Josh.
sorry about that. I did not know I was muted.
You're
But
good.
yeah, good to be on here. I appreciate you putting me on the microphone. So yeah, the reason I would like to ask is, I would like to see if we can have this, property labeled like just like anything out there, or even put the risk on it, just like alcohol or anything else. Me personally, I know a lot of people that 7OH helps to live a normal life versus Kratom, and normal metragine. I know 7OH, even in like a 40, 30 milligram, just, 4 times a day. I know a lot of people, I'm not a doctor or anything. I'm not advocating anything like that, but I'm just saying me personally, I know a lot of people that have it's benefited greatly for 10 years plus now. I mean, this is a lot of time. I've taken blood tests personally. I'm still extremely healthy. I don't even take any other medications, so I'm just hoping that we don't have to schedule 7OH, because I don't really see anything wrong with it if it's properly labeled. So I'm just hoping that we can advocate to keep 7OH legal, because I just know it's been phenomenal of me, because I had shingles and I used to live every day unable to work or anything at all. And Kratom didn't really work, metragine didn't work, but 7OH was a game changer and allowed me to start working a normal life. Now I'm, pretty successful, and 7OH saved my life and allowed me to live normally versus any other product. So I'm just advocating for a lot of people too that you can hopefully keep 7OH legal.
So, Joshua, the 7-OH has only been on the market for about 2 years, so it cannot have helped you for a decade. At least the extracted and synthesized versions of this. The problem is that the chemical structure of the synthesized 7-OH product is violative of the standards that are set under the Controlled Substances Act, because it doesn't have a new drug application or an approval by the FDA. So if the 7-OH people want to go and make their case to the FDA that they can have approval to be on the marketplace, God love them, let them do it. But until they do that, and that requires science, by the way, until they prove it, they simply are going to be illegal. And I think that that's the objective that we're looking at. I get it that there are people who are benefiting from it, but there are many people who are being harmed by it right now. And that's absolutely critical as we go forward. So that's the best answer I can give you on that. I know that there's a lot of controversy about this, but that's the way we are. Let me go to Sabin Hinckley. Sabin, you're up.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
How's it going? I own Antidote Extract Labs and Mighty Premium Salters, and I just had a question. Some people I know in my network in the industry have been mentioning the emergence of a new synthetic analog that's from 7-OH that they're trying to start using MGM16, which is basically a synthetic analog of 7-hydroxy that potentiates the opioid like potency even more. So is that on your radar? And if so, like it seems like it's just a rinse and repeat type thing. I feel like we're just going to keep making new versions that are potentially loopholes. Do you think this 7-OH Schedule 1 would fall under that bracket and it would just kind of be a blanket for all related 7-OH kind of derived stuff?
We believe that all of these synthesized products should be removed from the marketplace until they meet the standard, and that includes pseudodoxil and includes the MGM 15 and 16. Absolutely, they should be included, and we're going to advocate to the DEA that they actually do that. So, great question. We're gonna push along on that. So next up is Nicholas Oliverio. You're up. Nicholas, you there?
There we go. Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes.
Hey, thank you so much for doing this, for taking the time to be able to share all of this information with us. You're doing God's work. I've tried to do what I can. I'm down in Florida. I was up in Tallahassee a few cycles ago, trying to advocate for it as well. And I think it's very important to have regulation around these products that clearly are fully separable and now proven by the FDA to be fully separable from traditional kratom. My biggest question and what I fear is on a medical education level that the doctors and other authorities that will be providing reports, us up till now, I've had a few friends that work in medical field. I used to work in medical field where it'll say kratom usage on a medical history, but it's not going to be able to specify 7-OH versus a traditional kratom product user. Of course, this letter was sent out now detailing that there are differences, but how can we reliably expect medical professionals to separate within their own notes and reporting systems 7-OH usage versus traditional kratom usage for reporting standards?
So, Nicholas, great question. The FDA sent a letter to every doctor in America about 7-OH. So that's a start. They're going to have to educate these physicians, but it comes with that education. And the poison control centers in America have just changed their reporting system to identify 7-OH as opposed to kratom. So we're starting that process. Not going to be perfect, but I think we're on our way to do it. But you've identified a critical issue here that we need to help educate. And I think Commissioner McCary made it very clear that that's what he wanted to do with this educational effort. Let's go to Wayne Forrest. Wayne, you're up.
Mac, first of all, farmers in Indonesia, where I know pretty well, are going to be cheering this once they find out, as well as the export community. What do you think the effect of this decision will be on the import alert?
So one of the issues that was considered by the FDA, not yet implemented, was to do a special import alert on 7-OH raw materials coming in, because what they have found is that one of the largest 7-OH vendors in the country has moved their raw material preparation and extraction over to Indonesia and Thailand. And so they're considering at the FDA doing a targeted import alert on 7-OH materials. And they would seek the cooperation of both the Indonesian and the Thai governments in order to do that. But they recognize it. And we obviously, the import alert that's currently in place on regular kratom material, we're hoping that the FDA is going to modify it. I think that's under consideration. I spoke with FDA officials today around this press event, and they are very attuned to this. They think that the FDA commissioner and the secretary are both wanting to separate, natural kratom, and so I think that's going to lead to us being able to achieve that objective. But thank you, and continue your good work over there, Wayne, in helping with the Indonesian supply line, because that's critically important to us. So, Craig Katz, you're up.
So, a couple of things. First of all, something that's come up throughout the day is that I'm getting is the concern about overstepping boundaries. So once they've decided that they're going to go after 7-OH, which I think is the right thing to do, little concern about whether or not they're going to start trying to expand that and then go after the rest of our products. So that's one concern that I have, and that I've been getting comments from throughout the day.
So let me answer that first.
Sure.
Commissioner McCary made it clear when asked specifically about that issue, said, we are not concerned about the raw leaf kratom. And I think that's a terrific signal to the DEA not to muck with that. So I think we're okay on that, but we're going to monitor it. It's a risk, and we're going to monitor it very closely. And we've proven in the kratom community that we can communicate effectively on issues like that. And science currently doesn't support expanding that, because, as the commissioner pointed out, the pharmacological activity identified with 7-OH, it is a full-blown agonist as an opioid, has the same effects as an opioid, and we know the kratom and the raw leaf material does not do that. So
yeah, well, I preach ever vigilance on that. The other thing I wanted to bring up is it's a little anecdotal, but it kind of highlights what the issues are a little bit. At about 12:57 today, Zachary Folk from Forbes put out an article covering the announcement from this morning. And, it was a headline of basically banning 7-OH, but not the rest of the plant. And unfortunately, he included a picture of one of our storefronts, which, of course, we don't sell 7-OH. And it certainly caused a lot of consternation. And I think, obviously, since the name of the company is CBD Kratom, you can see where that might have an impact. I had to send out emails all afternoon trying to get them to take that picture down, which they finally did. But, the damage was done. There were already 1,000 people who viewed it. And so that's the kind of thing where I think we have to be careful about it, because the word kratom and the misconception that 7-OH is kratom is still something that we have to educate people on.
And Commissioner McCary said it right, that they have an educational component to their program, consumer education program. So this is a part of an unintended consequence. I'm willing to help any way I can from the AKA in order to help correct that. I have had 4, maybe 5 conversations with reporters today where I had to just simply say, you're wrong. And, the reporters are not necessarily the brightest people on earth any more than politicians are. And so we just have to keep working on it. But I appreciate your vigilance on that. And we're going to continue to work with you to make sure that that gets done right.
Thanks, Matt.
So thank you. So, Sammy, you're up. Or Sami, if I mispronounced it, I apologize. Going once?
Now, sorry about you got it. You can hear me now?
Yes, I can.
You did a very good job. It is Sami. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this as least long-winded as I can. So I'm a harm reduction specialist in Connecticut. First question that I have. So when they're scheduling, if they do make it a Schedule 1, so you know how marijuana is federally illegal, but they're still on a state level able to do it or not? Is there a possibility of that happening with the 7-O and Kratom products? I'm curious.
There's that possibility, yes, and we're going to be working hard to make sure there's consistency when it's scheduled at the federal level. You could, as you know, marijuana is scheduled federally, and they still have states that allow it. So we're going to be working hard on the legislative front in the states to make sure that there's not that kind of legislative creep on 7-OH, allowing 7-OH products.
Gotcha. And coming from my background, so harm reduction, I'm sure you know what that means. I don't know if you call it different things. Okay, so I do a needle exchange, fentanyl test strips, Narcan giveaways, all that stuff. So I'm actually in cahoots with the CEO of a company that I believe was the first one to come up with the 7-O product. Now they don't even make different flavors and all this other stuff, and I agree completely that it needs to be regulated more, and they should have labeling and everything else. But I've gotten successfully, I'd say, at least 30 clients off of heroin with the use of kratom, regular kratom. But now that they have fentanyl and xylazine in there, a lot of the kratom is not strong enough to actually get them to convert. But this company, was willing to send all sorts of trials, to help out, not even to try to, just to help me try to get these people out of the flame into the frying pan. You know what I mean? And I have done that on my own through, different. I have a smoke shop over here that gives it to me almost at cost, what their retail is, because I've been helping a lot of people out with it. That has, I believe both of them totally have a, place in the market here where it's totally could be helpful for people. But my biggest concern is how they could have something out there for that long and pull that off the shelf and think that that's fighting the opioid epidemic, when really now you're going to change everybody that you just started getting onto that. How many of them are going to be smart enough to go for Sublocade? How many of them are going to get into rehab? And how many of them are going to reach for harder drugs and end up passing away from that? You know what I mean?
So
But
I understand completely, and I think the answer is found in what the HHS officials said today, is that they are going to aggressively educate consumers and medical professionals. And nothing's perfect about this system. And from a harm reduction standpoint, to the extent that 7-OH people can demonstrate that they have safety data and that they have a therapeutic benefit, they can go to the FDA and they'll be on the market if they can do that. They just need to do it. But in the meantime, we're going to have to work with the best thing we have. The trade-off is that 7-OH, according to the FDA's paper, which is available on their website, that demonstrably hooks people and puts them into that cycle where they need to have withdrawal treatments. And so that's the trade-off. And I know it's a tough thing.
yes, 100%. I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying for the other, and the other thing, and I don't want to be, if you have the time and you can, if there's anywhere or any information that you could get me to where I might, because there's actually a meeting I have coming up with my opioid task force on this. And I'd like to be able to reach out to whoever I possibly can and give my expertise to try to help, do whatever I can, at least in my state. I don't know if you know anything about, where would be the best place to go about it. If I should just start a petition, have my whole task force sign it, or what I should do. But if you know anything, you could share with me for info.
Well, Swami, will you send an email to me at mhatto@americankratom.org, and we'll get someone back to you with some information.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is Nicholas Hasapoglu. Did I get that right? Nicholas, are you there? You're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, Hasapoglu. All right, I'll take it. No problem. Yeah, so basically I wanted to say, you know, the 7.0 products, most of the 7.0 products that are coming onto the shelf are labeled. They do let you know about the dependence. They warn you about the dependence. A lot of these products are third-party tested for heavy metals and for solvents. The same testing that the kratom leaf powders go through, the 7-OH powder goes through as well. There's a huge community out there of people who have gotten their quality of life back due to 7-OH, and now you're pushing for a Schedule 1. And like the gentleman before me said, now you're going to have all these people going back, reverting back to what they were doing before, when you had this product that was saving lives. Now, I completely agree with you. 7-OH in itself it's not whole leaf kratom. It's not. I think anyone could see that. Anyone with experience can see that. And I agree that totally needs to change. I think that we should regulate for a better labeling, education, but I also think we need to fight for safe access as well, for the people who have gotten their quality of life back. To me, I'm sorry, Mac, but this really just seems like 7-OH has taken away some profit margins, and you guys are unhappy about it. I was watching the debate the other day,
Well,
and
Nicholas, let me cut you. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but we got lots of people want to ask questions. This is a
sure.
simple answer. The answer is, do you have, not you, but does the 7-OH industry have the scientific basis for market entry? The answer to that is affirmatively no. I don't care how well they label their products. I don't care what their warnings are. That is not the criteria. And under FDA
So then
law,
what? So what
under
is?
FDA law, it is clear, it is unambiguous. Do you have the safety data for market entry? And they do not. And that's the bottom line.
So the safety data as far as which, because when I look at statistics, I don't see people from the 7OH community dying, being poisoned, and you can say that, oh well, it's untraceable and all that, but here's the thing: we all know each other, and nobody's going anywhere.
Okay, no,
Nobody's
wait,
getting
Nicholas,
sick or
Nicholas,
poisoned
again,
unless there's any,
I know you're, Nicholas, I know you're an advocate. I get that, and I understand it. You go to the FDA website on 7OH, read the report, which specifically identifies the harms caused by 7OH, specific to 7OH, and then we can have a conversation. But go do that, and then you can email me, and I'll be glad to call you offline and we can talk about it. But I understand the passion you have for it, but there is no scientific data that allows for market entry right now, and there are demonstrable negative side effects, serious side events, serious adverse events that have to be contemplated. So do that.
But you also have those same adverse side effects with regular kratom as well. I mean, you guys are acting like there's no withdrawal coming off of whole leaf kratom. I mean,
Nicholas,
I've been taking whole
Nicholas,
leaf kratom for over
Nicholas,
10 years.
Nicholas, I said I was respectful. I get it that you're an advocate. I understand. You are wrong to suggest that there's no scientific evidence for kratom products beyond the marketplace.
And I just want to just one more thing, Mac, if you will.
One more
I was
quickly.
watching the debate the other night, and Dr. Smith was trying to find common ground with you, and you just were not having it whatsoever. So, not only me, but just a bunch of people just can't help to think that this really is about money. I mean, you're pushing for people to get arrested here. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So Nicholas,
I
let me
think
tell you,
it's
let me tell you.
I think it's very dishonest. I think it's very dishonest.
Well, okay, I'm not a perfect person.
No,
But
none of us are. None of us are.
but I will tell you clearly that
Regular kratom has very bad. I've been in withdrawal off of. I've been
Christopher, I invited you to go read the information. You can call me. I'm
on with
glad,
opiates,
glad to have this
kratom,
discussion.
and 7OH, and kratom and 7OH have the same adverse side effects. I mean, I've felt them. So I'm an advocate. All those. I mean, it's just I think it's very dishonest.
Understood. I get what you're saying. That's you do what I ask, and I'll be glad to have that conversation.
Yeah, I will. I will do that. Do you know? Can you just tell me where I could get that information from?
You go to the FDA.org
Okay.
/7OH and read that
Okay.
report, and then call me back and say how dishonest I am. I'll be glad to. Do you think I am? You're wrong, but you can go ahead and do that.
Okay, and then I can bring back.
You cut off, but you go ahead and do that and get back to me. Okay, Christopher Rowland. Christopher, you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
All right, great. Thanks for putting the presentation on tonight. I'm going to do a very 180 change of topic. I live in Connecticut, and what I would like to know is I've contacted my elected representatives several times on the subject of the kratom scheduling, the whole leaf kratom scheduling, and crickets. Absolutely no reply at all from any of them. And I've also tried to contact AKA to find out who the legislators were in Connecticut that are pushing for this or were pushing for this, and have not been able to get a reply there either. So I don't know where to direct my attention to at this point, but I'd like any advice you can give me on that. And then also, as a secondary part of this, is the AKA on the ground, figuratively or literally in Connecticut, trying to reverse this very dishonestly affected ban?
Yes, and Christopher, email me, and I will. We need to have 15 Connecticut residents in order to request an in-person hearing before the Director of Consumer Protection that will handle the actual formulation of scheduling. So please email me and get that, and then I will make sure that someone from AK gets back to you. We've been swamped. I'll be honest with you. We have a small staff. We're going to do the best we can, but I will make it a priority, Christopher, to get back to you. Someone will in the office, but we need you to be one of the people, if you're willing,
I
to
am.
request that hearing. So thank you very much for your willingness to do that.
And then just so I know, it's mhaddo@americankratom.org.
That's correct.
Okay, you will absolutely hear from me.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Susan Cave. You're on mute, Susan. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to get closer to your mic. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We really can't hear you. I apologize. So try one more time and then we'll have to just pass by.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay. My question is there 7-OH comes from the natural kratom leaf, correct?
No,
Can't hear you.
no, I can hear it fine.
You can't hear me?
So 7-OH is a metabolite that occurs in the Susan, are you with me?
Okay. Hold on.
So
Can you hear me now, Mac?
I can, yes. And I'll answer the question.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
that's right, that's right.
My question is 7-OH comes from the leaf, correct?
No. 7-OH is a metabolite of the kratom plant that occurs when it oxidizes in the heat of the sun when it's drying the leaf. So it's not a natural part of the leaf. In that area, it is only the levels of 7-OH only occur at less than 2% of the overall alkaloids. It is only when 7-OH is synthetically extracted and enhanced that 7-OH becomes
Oh,
dangerous.
they have to take the 7-OH out of the little tiny piece of the kratom leaf. They have to remove that from the kratom leaf to get 7-hydroxy, correct?
They use a chemically, it's been told to me that it's like taking chemicals that you shock your pool with. So they put it in an extraction process with very powerful extraction chemicals, and that's what creates the dangerous level of 7-OH.
So you really wouldn't have 7-OH if you didn't have the kratom leaf, correct?
Well, Susan, you're confusing it. The 7-OH is not naturally occurring in the leaf, but in the natural evolution of the drying process, it creates a level of 7-OH that is not unsafe. What happens when you chemically synthesize, and that's true for any number of
Well, let
products.
me ask you, let me interrupt
Oh, if
just
you'd
for a
let me,
second and ask
oh,
you
okay, you
this.
can interrupt, Susan.
So
I'm gonna let you have one more
you
chance.
you can't have 7-OH without drying the kratom and doing all that stuff, the natural kratom leaf.
Susan,
Is there any way to synthetically make 7-OH without the kratom leaf?
Yes. Yes, you can. You can chemically. That's what Sudandoxil and well, actually the MGM-15s are totally chemically formulated. Absolutely, you can.
And they can do that without the natural kratom leaf, correct?
I will say it again. Yes, yes, they can.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. Well,
I think I advocate for a ban of kratom. That's what I advocate for.
Well, and you need
there
to
are
be
many
better
people
informed.
that have died.
Susan,
that have
thank you.
died just.
Okay, I'm going to go to Dawn. Dawn, you're now up.
Thank you so much. I have non-Hodgkin small B lymphoma leukemia, and I know that I don't make a good medication opiate patient because I'm a prior AA person. And they know this. I don't lie about my life. I don't lie about anything. So I was put on all different non-opiate medications for my herniated and bulging discs that I have throughout my spine. And my osteo is so bad that I can barely move my hands at 61 and my wrists. And both my hips have been replaced this year at 61. So my thing is, I've tried the gabapentin. I got hives. I got so dry. I had such serious side effects. So then they put me to Lyrica. I wet myself. So that was another weird side effect. So then they put me on methocarbamol, and I had sores all over my body from a weird pinwheel kind of rash. So for me, I have never found anything to help me with my osteo. And God bless the woman before. But if you don't live in chronic pain like I do, or a burn victim, or somebody who, like my cousin who has lupus, and they take you off your meds, because what they're doing is they're slowly taking people off. And that's great.
Dawn,
I
please,
mean,
please tell me what the question is. I feel that
so the
obviously,
question is there anyone who's advocating for us who are severe chronic pain patients? Because I have cancer now, I believe, of all the treatments. So is there anyone who can help someone like me who can't fight alone?
so I can't obviously answer to the medical conditions that you are experiencing. I feel very badly for you. Your medical professionals have to help you with that. If the issue is, can Kratom help with that? As many people have
It
told me
did,
that
and
it
it
does.
has.
Great. Well, then
Yes,
we're
with my
protecting.
osteo.
Yeah, we're protecting the leaf kratom products and properly extracted products on the marketplace today. The FDA has recommended and HHS is recommending the banning of what is a synthesized product that has significant adverse events associated with it. So that's what we're doing.
I just heard about it 3 weeks ago, so I ordered it. And as soon as it came to my door, Connecticut put a ban on it, and that's where I live.
Well,
And
Connecticut
this,
does not. Connecticut does not have a ban on kratom. They have a proposed ban, and that's gonna go through a process that we're actively involved in. So we'd love to have you help us on that.
that would be awesome. I would really appreciate it. Is there any way you could put it up on the screen where to contact and get information to be part of that? I think they need to see and hear my story, because I have the pictures as well of what all those other drugs did. And
Yeah,
there's
great.
nothing else that helps.
So I don't know how to do that. But you just have to
Oh,
email
okay.
me
Thank
at
you.
mhatto@americankratom.org, and I'll get it to the right person. So thank you very much. So Misty Brown, you're on mute, Misty.
Sorry about that. I'm live streaming as well.
Okay.
I had the opportunity to join Matt Caddo and the AKA and Bud Smith at the Champs Trade Show in Las Vegas last week. I want you guys to understand this. Listen to me when I say this, that there were over 177 OH booths there. 99.9% of the people that ran those booths do not consume their own products that they are selling. Let me repeat that. That should be red flag number one. 99.9% of those 708 sellers do not consume their own products. One guy was sober from his own products. He had to go to rehab for it. But yet he's up there selling it and giving away free samples. I just wanted to let y'all know that.
Well,
red flag number one.
Yep. So
amazing time. We had amazing time too.
Yeah, I would just add to that the Hart representative testified in the Massachusetts legislative hearing that you could consume 2 pounds of 7-OH in a single setting and you would still be alive. That is ridiculous. I challenged Jeff Smith, and I obviously couldn't do it because of the risk that he might kill himself in doing it. He's the representative Hart at the debate, and he said no one would do that. He said I might do it in 6 months, consume 6 pounds or 2 pounds. Well, why was the representative Hart testifying before a legislative hearing, misleading state legislators, telling them that they could consume in one sitting 2 pounds of 7-OH? Craziness.
And that's another statement that I want to make, is that I was sitting in that town hall hearing. I was watching Hart versus the American Kratom Association. Everybody wants to say that the American Kratom Association is doing this because of loss of profits. What do y'all think the heart is doing? They gained millions upon millions, if not billions of dollars of selling synthetic 7-OH as a Kratom product. So I am a consumer, a whole leaf consumer, and an advocate, and I don't make a dime doing what I do. I am not monetized on my social media. I just got accused of this, so sorry, I'm going off on that. But I will forever say this, that whole leaf kratom is an exit from addiction. Synthetic 7-OH is an entrance into one, and they knew that. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for your service to the Kratom community as an advocate. You're fantastic, and you know that, and I want to recognize it. So thank you. So we'll go to Dawn Sanborn. You're on mute, Dawn.
Hi, you already spoke to me, but I appreciate it, Matt.
Oh, well, okay. Thank you.
I don't want to steal all the time, but
all right. Thank you
you
very much. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Megan Zamaro. Megan, you're on mute. Megan, you're on mute. Okay, I'll pass on Megan. Come back.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Sorry about that, Mac. This is Sean from Philadelphia.
Yes, how are you?
Good, Mac. I just want to say that today I was kind of all over social media after they did the press conference. And there's a lot of confusion in the community because you have a lot of people who, they're standing up for their rights with the 7-OH. And they're telling a lot of the consumers that if they were to leave a bad comment about 7-OH when the comment period happens or speak out against 7-OH, that plain leaf will also be banned. So I think it's very important for people who have been fighting for plain leaf kratom for all of these years to know that we do need to speak out against 7-OH. That's important for us to make our statement when this comment period comes, which I don't think they're going to go right to an emergency scheduling, but maybe you can give me your opinion on that. And the second thing I want to say is this is not a 7-OH versus AKA thing. You had major government organizations get together today and have an emergency press conference about this. That means that there is a health issue and an imminent threat to public health safety. So this is not something that Mac made up. He's not a big bad guy. This is a long time coming now, 1 or 2 years. And the other thing that I want to say is that the whole industry with the 7-OH has muddied the waters with our advocacy efforts and made it very hard for us when all we wanted to do was be left alone and have them not call their product Kratom because it was putting our product, our plain leaf Kratom, in danger. So I just want to say that I'm all for this. I hope that it is backed by science. I hope they just don't emergency ban it because I think it's important for the people who are taking these products to see what's going on and not be blinded by whatever they're blinded by, which might be addiction or it could be the quick pain relief. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a product that's most likely going to be banned. And I think it's going to be really great for our federal efforts for keeping plain leaf legal.
Thank you. So a couple of responses. One, it is going to be scheduled under regular scheduling, not emergency scheduling. There will be a public comment period that will be published by the DEA, and everyone can obviously comment. The strategy that we have to employ is that we tell the truth in these comments about the experiences we have with these products. The DEA has in its possession an 8-factor analysis prepared by the FDA, which analyzes every one of the factors that is required for scheduling. And I can tell you that the FDA person that I spoke with said, we are not going to replicate what happened in 2016 and 2018, where we got called out for embarrassingly poor evidence and data. We're doing it right this time. And so I think that that will be examined in its context by the DEA, and everyone will have a chance to do it. But we absolutely need to have people commenting about the experiences that they've had. Otherwise, the 7-OH propaganda machine will overwhelm us. And so we want to make sure that it's done as appropriately as we can. So we'll go to Dennis You're up. And you're on mute, Dennis.
Hi, Mac, and hi, everybody. Thank you very much for everything you do, Mac, and all the advocates. I want to try not to take up too much time. I know there's a lot of controversy in this topic. Myself, I consider myself a naturalist and a herbalist. I try to minimize the amount of synthetic and unnatural things I put in my body. Definitely am a kratom advocate. The thing that I've seen is like I've been in between the cracks of the Discord communities a lot, and kind of behind the scenes, and I've watched a lot of the communities I've watched 7OH trickle into these communities, and so I've helped a lot of people with, get off 7OH and get off some harder drugs, supplementing with kratom and a balanced vitamin and health routine. But I've seen a lot of division in the community. There's unification groups that we have where there's 7OH advocates that are part of it. So you could imagine how that's going. But the reason, my real inquiry here, I guess what I wanted to say is that I'm always trying to advocate for the safety profile of kratom and point people into some solid structural information where they can not just have to take it from me. And as I'm trying to move to more mainstream platforms to share information about the differences between our natural leaf and the synthetic counterparts, explain to people what the difference is, and education is the key here. But as I'm trying to do this, it's difficult because anybody can just Google. I think you mentioned last time we were trying to have the FDA information on Mayo Clinic kind of cleaned up a little bit, because it's anybody could do a Google search, and it's like what you see about kratom is it just leads you to understanding that kratom is bad. And so it's hard to explain the safety profile for it when I think that when the FDA warnings about kratom are so alarming on their own. So is there anything that we'd be able to do about that, as far as the FDA warnings, like the Mayo Clinic information?
So great question. We are working and diligently trying to convince the Mayo Clinic that the safety profile of kratom that is recognized today, and including the very day today when Commissioner McCary said that they're not concerned about the raw leaf kratom, that has changed. And so the Mayo Clinic needs to stand down from its replication of the harsh rhetoric, which the FDA has simply stepped back from. So I think we can make some progress there. Deeply appreciate the fact that you're concerned about this, and we want to try to clean up those Google searches, because obviously there's a lot of disinformation out there. So thanks very much for your point. Thank you. Let's go to Barbara Ann, and you're up, and you're currently on mute.
Hello, and I appreciate your advocacy in this. I've followed your emails. I've sent some testimonies in. And for one quick statement before my question, for those who are using the 7OH, go out and study the research of Dr. Christopher McCurdy. When I started using Kratom, I followed his research. Kratom leaf is not addictive. Kratom leaf is not killing people. They're not ODing on it. He said, yes, there needs to be more studies, but I've been using it since 2018 as a chronic pain patient, and it's not addictive. Matter of fact, after a few surgeries, my pain got better, and I didn't use it for a while. So, yeah, go research him, because if you get on the kratom leaf, you'll actually find that it's not addictive. It only blocks the pain receptors. It does not block the addictive receptors based on his research. My question is this, and thank you so much for educating me. I've been advocating for kratom for years, not knowing why people were coming up saying, oh, there's people addicted to it and this, that, and the other. I'm like, no. I had no idea there was a synthetic out there. So here's my question. You're advocating for the 7OH to be Schedule 1, or believe it should be. And because of its bad publicity and incorrect information out there to the public right now, versus real natural kratom, but are you also advocating for kratom leaf natural that's tested and sold in certified states to be a Schedule 1 as well?
No, the distinction is a synthesized product that 7-OH in an enhanced version, if it's above the 2% of the overall fraction of the plant material in the product, or if it's greater than 1 milligram per serving, which is the conversion ratio, then that's a synthesized product. And that's what the FDA and HHS are recommending that the DA classify as a Schedule 1 substance. We are not advocating that natural kratom, nor are we advocating for the kratom products that are extracted using FDA-approved food-grade solvents, because they don't have the power to increase or enhance the potency of the kratom products. So we're looking only to go after these synthesized products, which is what the FDA is recommending today. So, and it's a great question because we need to make sure people understand the difference. But thank you very much, Barbara, for your help, and we hope you'll continue to help us here as we go forward. We'll go to, I think Dennis has already spoken. How about Bobby LeBlanc? Bobby, fire away.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Hey, buddy. Look, like always, Mac, I appreciate everything you do, man. You're such a warrior. So, look, I want to point out a couple things right quick. You know, all the craziness we got going on here in Louisiana. So, the first thing I want to kind of point out is I just want to give a shout out to the FDA, the DEA, Secretary Kennedy for about actually taking the time and truly putting a right mind toward a right decision, should we say. You know, 15 years of doing this, I could say about time this is finally reality. I said this 13 months ago that this was going to be a serious issue, and here we are today. You know, the addiction clinics that we're concerned about right now that we're challenging next week is how they're going to handle this mess. I've been witnessing a lot of stuff this past week working my store, and it's just been amazing. So, you know, with that said, you know, we got Senator Kennedy, Secretary Robert Kennedy here. Hopefully he can encourage Senator John Kennedy here in Louisiana to figure out how are we going to capitalize on this moment that happened today and get this advocacy stuff that we're about to start here shortly to get Louisiana back on the track that we need to be. We know that Senator Morris and Representative Villio were both wrong. We got defeated by the lies, the uneducation of politics, and the personal and political narratives. So I guess to the people of Louisiana, as well as everybody in these banned states, how are we going to capitalize on this quickly here in Louisiana? Because you know the movement that we're about to do, and you know we have a discussion here pretty soon, me and you. So how are we going to capitalize on this? And if you can kind of highlight to the Louisiana people and people in other banned states.
So we are not going to abandon any of the kratom consumers in the states that have banned kratom. We're going to continue this fight. Just as we did in Rhode Island. We're going to continue to fight until we succeed in showing that the scientific basis for the safety of the kratom products should be recognized in statute with proper regulations. So we're going to be back fighting this battle in Louisiana, and we're going to have the battle in Connecticut, and we're going to work in the other states where it's currently banned. We've had success in Arkansas where we got it passed through the Senate, got hung up in the House. We're going to work there next year with them. Same as in Wisconsin, the same in Vermont. The only state that's and Indiana, the only state that's really hard so far has been Alabama, but we're not going to give up there either. So we're going to be there fighting for it. But I will tell you the seminal moment that was critical to us is when the FDA commissioner says we are not concerned about the raw leaf kratom. So that's the argument that has been relied upon by these state legislators who say, oh, the FDA says. Now, Commissioner McCary has said, this is what the FDA says, and what you should be focused on are synthetically derived compounds of kratom. That's the message we're going to deliver to these states, and we're going to call out the imposters in the state legislature who want to try to claim that pure leaf kratom and properly extracted kratom products are somehow unsafe. It is the synthetic products, and that's where we're going to take our fight.
So,
Bobby, we're going to be this
so
together.
with that real fast, with that, because we're going to start a lot of serious advocacy next week. Are we going to be able to send a lot of this stuff out to these legislators? I've already sent out a bunch of emails. We meeting with the sheriffs and some other people here shortly. So we're going to definitely be engaging in this like shortly. Like it's not going to be, we're going to wait till next session. We're going to start actively doing things to put in that this moment today that we capitalized on out there, correct?
We're going to do what Commissioner McCary said. We're going to start the education campaign. He's
Cool.
sending letters to every doctor in America. We're going to send letters to every legislator in
Cool.
America.
That'll work. Thank you, man. Talk
All
to you
right.
soon.
Appreciate it. So next, let's see. Next up is Ralph. Ralph, you're on. You're on mute.
Hey, yeah, sorry, I had to unmute.
That's all right.
So what I'm wondering is how are we sure that the DEA is going to follow what the FDA is recommending and not going after the raw leaf kratom? I mean, if they schedule 7-hydroxymitragynine, isn't that in kratom leaf, even if it's just trace amounts?
So the specific recommendation that's been communicated to the DEA from the from FDA and HHS limits it only to synthetics. The ability of the DEA to expand beyond that would require them going back to the FDA and examine how they could do that and get them to supplement the request. Now, I'm not going to trust that. We are going to be aggressively making sure we're going to contract for our own 8-factor that will target the synthetic versions of 7-OH and pseudodoxil in the M15s. So it's going to be an aggressive effort. We can't let our guard down. So we're going to be out there hustling. And you've raised a good point, and we're going to be alert to it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that's my biggest concern is that we're going to be shooting ourselves in the foot doing this because, I mean, I'll admit I'm an advocate for 7-0. I don't think it should be Schedule 1. That said, I mean, it is in the leaf. So it's like, I don't know. It just makes me nervous. I mean, I'd hate to see Kratom get banned. You know, I understand the concerns with 7-OH, but
got it. Well, I think
definitely makes me nervous.
Yeah, I understand the point, and we're gonna protect the plant. There's no question about it. But thanks for your comments. So we'll go to Paul Jones. Paul, you're up. You can unmute yourself. Paul, you got to unmute yourself. So going once, going twice. I'll try to come back to him. Let's go to Joshua.
Hi, Mac.
Hi there.
I'm here in New York State in our beautiful capital, Albany, and I don't know if it. I use a certain brand of kratom of loose leaf. I don't know if it's okay if I say the brand. I don't want to act like I'm marketing or something.
No, I would not. Just describe your experience. We don't need to promote a brand.
Oh, okay. I have panic anxiety attack disorder. And I been prescribed clonazepam for 25 years. The only thing that it has helped and made it very easy to stop taking a controlled substance that really does help my life has been loose leaf kratom. I take, I do yellow and then green. I mix up my loose leaf, but in New York, people it's the 7-OH stuff. Like we kind of laugh at. Meaning like that's the stuff that's sold at like bodegas and I'm a very I like this very good company. These hippo guys from out in Idaho, like and it's tested, it's got, I take it very seriously. I've never had to use it for pain relief, and I feel for anybody out there that's going through pain and that, you know, is using it that way. But do feel the same concern that I feel like everyone does, is that yes, I think the synthetic stuff should be banned. I feel like it's not safe, but at the same time, this government kind of, if you give them an inch, you know, they're gonna take 5 kilometers. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I
so it's like
do.
one of those
You're
things. It's
absolutely right.
like, I'm like, wow. So everyone I know and everyone I've turned on to Kratom, that has helped them in amazing ways in their life, emotionally and also like physically. Just, you know, having a cup of tea. We all have different ways of taking it because, well, we can all agree it tastes disgusting, but we but it it doesn't alter us. Where the 7OH is, I mean, it's not kratom. I just don't know how else to say it. It's just not kratom. But again, my worry is if they get a foothold somewhere, what are we doing against really making sure, again, my own personal bias, that this administration and these people will keep their word?
Well, this is a great point that you made. And I'm concerned about it as well. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure they stay in the lane that's been laid out by Secretary Kennedy and Commissioner McCary. And if we see them deviate,
Okay, I I'm listening to you. But I I honestly want your opinion of, do you believe that they'll actually stay in their lane?
I do. I think
Okay.
that based on my discussions with the deputy administrator of the DEA and FDA and HHS officials, I'm convinced that they are targeted like a laser on synthetics and synthetic 7OH and their byproducts. So I'm confident. Otherwise, I wouldn't be supporting this. I think that we're taking a little bit of a leap of faith, but I think it's worth doing.
I,
Thanks for your.
but you can understand where my worry comes in. Like,
Mine too. Mine too. And thank you, because I'm going to continue to worry with you until we see this through. So thanks very
okay.
much. So Nicholas Tischer, you're up. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, yeah. So I am wondering, and sorry, I had some connection issues earlier. So, what I'm wondering about is, and maybe it got addressed already, but if it did already, if you're able to just kind of summarize quickly. But what I'm wondering about is regarding the statements that were made by RFK Jr. About this with 7OH, and then the raw kratom leaf, just the natural thing being not the issue, but is this, in your opinion, I guess, do you see this, and I think you already answered it, but do you think that this is going to definitely help states that completely have prohibited it, um, you know, like I said, completely. And then also the other thing too is the other part of it that I'm wondering about is there are some companies that they get their product from, for example, Indonesia. Um, so it's international shipping. Um, you know, how do you see, I guess, any of will any of that stuff get impacted? If people are getting their stuff from, for example, overseas, say if a company that, is in the States, but they source their material from overseas, how does that all get affected?
So to Nicholas, to your question, I believe that this will be a very important messaging platform based on what happened today for those states that banned Kratom initially, because they did so because the FDA told them to. And now you've got an FDA commissioner who acknowledged publicly and stated plainly for everyone to hear that they're not targeting raw kratom, the kratom leaf, or this is just about synthetics. And so I think it resets the narrative. Hope it gives us a platform for which we can advocate for those states that have banned it to reverse those bans and go after the synthetics. So that's where I think we are on this. In terms of the international shipping, the FDA currently has an import alert on kratom, two import alerts. One that we accept and agree with, which is that if someone is bringing in a kratom product internationally and makes an illegal therapeutic claim, meaning a drug claim, they should be banned. Got it. We don't think it happens very much, if at all, but they can have that one. But they cannot have the second import alert, which says that because the FDA, on their own will, without any rulemaking authority, has said that all kratom raw material is deemed adulterated because it doesn't have a qualified NDIN, new dietary ingredient notification, to be sold as a dietary ingredient or a food additive, when they get to control that. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Our federal bill resets that import alert criteria and says that it only can be applied when the FDA identifies a contaminant, microbial contaminant, that poses a threat to the safety of the people that would consume it. Then they can do that import alert, but not as a broad kratom import alert. So I think that we're going to address those issues. We're working hard on it. You've raised important issues here, and I thank you for doing so. Let's go to Michael. You have to unmute yourself, Michael.
Oh, hey, Matt, sorry. Any input or idea about possible federal KCPA after today's press conference in the future? Or?
Yes, and great question. We are at the final stages waiting for the Legislative Council to give us the final version of the federal bill. There's going to have to be some tweaks to it based on what happened today. So we're going to get those done quickly, turn it around, and we'll get the bill filed. I believe that the identification by the FDA of the threat from synthetic products will be a catalyst for the federal government to pass the KCPA as quickly as possible. And so I think that is a benefit, a side benefit of what's happened here today that will really help us. But great to raise that point, and thank you for doing so. Caitlin, we'll go to you. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. Hi, Mac. Thank you for holding this discussion. I'm really happy to be here. So I'm advocating for kratom leaf in the state of North Dakota, and I just have a few questions. So I have noticed within like selling the product to customers that consumers still will struggle with withdrawals from overuse of kratom and 7-OH. And it appears that kratom can only be addictive like per person's personality, because obviously it makes you feel good. It's helping with pain relief. So I have seen some people struggle with it, even though I do think it's a very beneficial herb that can help a lot of people more than it causes harm. But with people who struggle with those withdrawals from these products, what is something that we can do to help them through those withdrawals, like as a product seller?
So the critical issue here is that because it's natural does not mean it is automatically safe. Consumers have to responsibly use the kratom products. You can, based on science that's been developed, can become dependent on kratom. You build up a tolerance to it, and so you may end up using more kratom than you did initially, and that dependence is evidenced by your having difficulties in not using it. So that's recognized, and many of the scientists have told me that it's very much like the same dependence that you can experience in using caffeine. That's why the FDA set caffeine limits on a per day serving level. I think it's 400 milligrams, the recommended serving size, or the amount of caffeine you could consume in a day. So responsible use is important. The problem with synthetics is that you become addicted as opposed to being dependent very quickly, and it's very difficult to get off of it. The surveys that have been done that are analyzing the experience of people that want to wean themselves off of a dependency on Kratom has demonstrated that those people are able to do so within about a 10-day period or less, and they'll experience a minor headache, a runny nose, and upset stomach, and then they're done. That is vastly different than trying to withdraw from an opioid, which, as Commissioner McCary definitively said, synthetic 7-OH products are full-blown opioids based on their psychoactive impact on the mu opioid receptors that obviously drive that addiction. So just keep advocating to your customers. They have to use it responsibly. Follow the packaging labeling. If there's a product that doesn't have a serving size recommendation, don't sell it. And consumers don't buy it because that's a product that really shouldn't be on the market. But you've identified an important issue here that we need to be cognizant of the responsibility that consumers have as they ingest and use these Kratom products.
Yeah.
So thanks
Yeah,
so much. And we're going to keep fighting in North Dakota. We know it's a continued problem up there that the state agencies are trying to shut you down. So we're going to be up there helping. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So TJ, you're up. Unmute yourself, please.
Hey there, Mac. I'll make it real quick. I wanted to ask you, I'm reaching out from Louisiana to ask if there has been any recent efforts by the AKA to help reverse the state's Kratom ban. Just seeing if anybody's being proactive about it currently.
So there was a speaker on a little earlier that is a great advocate down there, and you ought to join with him in order to help fight this. The next opportunity, and that's Bobby LeBlanc. The next opportunity we're going to have is when the legislative session reconvenes, and we hopefully can revisit this issue. And we got a great boost from the FDA today, distinguishing between synthetic products and natural products, because Senator Morris and Representative Velo said you can't tell the difference. Well, you can because the FDA can. And now we're going to eliminate with a federal scheduling of those synthetic products. And to the extent that those are the problem, we hope that Senator Morris will stay true to what he said, which is you couldn't tell. Well, now that we can tell, we should certainly. And he even said, I know that some people use pure Kratom and it helps them. It's just we can't tell the difference. Well, guess what? Now we can. And the feds will have taken action by that time they reconvene. So hopefully that'll be the catalyst for us to get a reversal of that ban. And we're going to be down there fighting with you to make sure that that happens the best we can. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That sounds very promising.
Great. Thank you. So we'll go to Paul Jones. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now, Mac?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, updated updates and had to go back into settings, and I was just not quick enough earlier. So sorry. Simple question. I watched the press conference, and it was nice to see a fellow advocate up there, like she always does. Melody's amazing. But anyway, I guess the one thing that I was taken back by is, and I shouldn't be surprised about this, but the reporters, you could see, unfortunately, they're very uneducated with their questions, frankly, pretty much ignorant about Kratom. And, I was impressed to see that the FDA director made that distinction between 7-OH and Kratom, natural leaf Kratom. I guess the question is, how do we get the media and those out there that are, you see all these stories flooded and they lump 7-OH with Kratom. So what can we do to change that mindset and actually educate the public?
So I'm going to be careful here.
Okay.
I have the same frustration as you do, and I was thrilled to see the commissioner to be as well versed as he was, to be able to respond specifically to uninformed questions from the media. I thought he did a great job, and it evidenced great preparation for the press conference. I loved it. But there's a big challenge. So what we're doing, we have a database of Kratom reporters who have written stories on Kratom. And we push out periodically information to them to try to educate them, because most of those stories were negative towards Kratom. And we think that this seismic event with the FDA recommending scheduling of synthetic products, which are the problem in the industry, is going to help us. And we're going to put on a full court press to educate those reporters. But I can tell you that in the dozen interviews I've had today, that I think well, maybe 8 of them were completely as uninformed as what we saw in that room.
Okay, wow.
So it's a constant battle, and we're going to continue to work on it. But that's our effort, and we're going to redouble our efforts now in trying to educate these consumers or these media people as they try to understand what Kratom is all about. So thanks very much for that comment.
Thank you very much.
So we'll go to Tyler. Tyler, you are up, and you can unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the big thing for me is I just wanted to come here and let everyone know that saying that it's not addictive, that it absolutely is for regular kratom. Um, I was taking it for 3 years because I'm a disabled combat veteran, and I was just taking regular capsules, so just plain leaf, and never took a single extract. I hated them all, and I had horrible, horrible withdrawals, um, like the worst I've ever had. And I used to be a heroin addict, and so I don't know where people are coming up with this saying it's not addictive. That is total misinformation because I can tell you right now that I myself, and I even there was actually somebody in the hospital that went there while I was there that was there for the same thing. So I know it can depend on physiology and all that, but it absolutely 100% is addictive physically and mentally. So I don't know why that misinformation keeps getting spread. I didn't touch a single substance during that time or alcohol. That's all I was using.
Well,
And I literally, I don't understand when people keep saying that. That's all. I mean, I'm not here to argue with anyone doing for anything else, but that is a huge, huge piece of misinformation that is being spread, and I don't think that's fair.
Okay, so Tyler, first off, thank you for that candid assessment. I thought I'd stressed, and I will re-stress it here, that based on the scientific research and surveys done, the determination has been that, and there are obviously outliers, and you apparently fall into the outlier category, and that's not a pejorative thing, that just happens. But for most people, they do not experience the kind of addiction that you see with very strong opioids or other kinds of illicit drugs or even prescription medications. And what the experience has shown, based on these surveys, which are peer-reviewed published articles, are that kratom, mitragynine, does not have the addictive qualities, but rather has a dependence quality. Outliers, as you've experienced, obviously require you to adapt in terms of the consumption of the products that you're taking because of the unique conditions that you're experiencing with yourself. Each one of us is different. I know that there are reports I've received from others who have said the very same thing that you've said, and we're sensitive to that. And so I think that there's a personal responsibility in this where when you experience what you've described, that you have to tailor it back so that you don't have those kinds of withdrawal symptoms. But I understand completely what you're saying.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if there's outliers, and it's simple. It's an addictive substance. You can't claim something isn't if there's outliers that are experiencing it.
I understand your point completely, and I will simply say that the way that's been described to me by the researchers and experts is that the way that they assess the addiction
Who are the researchers? I just been wondering where the information came from.
So
I just wanted to see who you're.
Sure.
That's it. I'm just.
So Dr. Kirsten Smith at Johns Hopkins University, who's done numerous studies on this, Oliver Grundmann, University of Florida. And
Isn't she the same woman that was all over Reddit? Is that's your doctor?
Tyler, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know if Dr. Kirsten Smith is on Reddit or not. I have no idea.
People do, but okay.
But what I'm saying is that there have been research projects undertaken that demonstrate that for most people, and that's what research does, is they look at the experience that's reported by people, that they're not experiencing the kinds of withdrawals that you've described that you are experiencing. And there may be reasons for it. It might be that it's the product you're taking, which you don't know what's in that product. And maybe it's something, maybe switching products might help. Maybe you've done that. Maybe it's because of
I did, yeah.
yeah, maybe it's the physiological response that your body has, which is different than others, and that creates a condition where you are more susceptible to an addiction at this level. So I understand completely, and I think this is one that you'll just have to consult with your medical professionals, figure it out. There might be
I
better.
have.
Yeah, I'm not saying you haven't. I'm just saying that it's just the solution to this is not to say that we're all wrong, but rather I think better it is the solution is for you in your individual circumstance to find that appropriate level of consumption or other products that might be.
But that's not the thing. It's not about the consumption. It's either addictive or it's not.
Well, that's not
It's
true.
one of the. There's no gray lines. Yes, it
No,
is.
no, no, that's not true. Listen, I understand what you've told me. What I'm saying is it's not true that it's either addictive or not addictive because, as I've said, each individual
That's
person has a different experience, and because of your physiological condition, you may be more susceptible to the.
that. So that still means it is addictive.
Okay,
You take enough of any substance, if you quit, you're going to have a withdrawal for a lot of different substances that other people they won't because they're not going to take that amount. So it's either addictive or it's non-addictive. There's no, oh, you took too much. That's why you're having withdrawals. That means it's an addictive substance still.
So Tyler,
Like it just it,
I understand, and I appreciate your comment. I'll end with this point, which has been made to me by experts, and that is that
experts.
you can be cynical if you want. The point that was made to me was that you can have people that have a different response to the kratom, the mitragynine, than others, and if there's an outlier, that does not mean that everybody else gets in the same category of having the same experience of it being addictive, and therefore it should be removed from the marketplace. That's
I'm
different.
not saying that means that it should be removed. I'm saying it's misinformation to tell people that because that's what I was told when I was using. Hey man, it's not. You're good. It's not addictive. It's this and that. So I found it at a gas station. It doesn't matter how I got into it, but that's
Well,
what I was told. That's
right.
literally the exact thing what I told. And that same thing could be said for 7-0. That exact same argument could be said. It's what is it, like 9 years ago now? You guys were in the same position, using the same facts and the same points that we are all trying to make. And now you're turning your back on a huge part of the people that were once your biggest supporters just because it came to a point where kratom it wouldn't help me anymore. I would have to take way too much and it would harm my body. My hair would fall out. My kidneys and liver was shutting down. Like it was horrible. And then when I found 7-0, I barely had to take any, and I got that back pain, my bulging discs, all that, and
Right.
I would barely even have to take any, maybe one like little thing a day. So I just don't understand it. You guys are just turning your backs on so many people that used to be your biggest supporters,
Well,
and it's
I
like
get
it's
I
just
get
not
it.
fair.
You could have come out first and just said that you were a 708 supporter
I,
rather than
I came out. It doesn't matter what I am. I
but,
came and I
but
said
Tyler,
something
Tyler,
about whether it's addictive or it's not. You have no right to tell me what I need to come in here and say.
no, Tyler, I've given you respect, and I've let you
And I
say
haven't
what
given you
you're
any
saying, and
disrespect, sir. I've given you none.
you've disrespected me by saying you can't say what you're saying. I recognize that we have a different point of view. You are entitled to your viewpoint, and you can report
By
that.
telling me what I can't say, that's disrespectful as well.
I didn't say that you
You
can't
just
say
did
it.
what I need to come in here and say.
Tyler, you've made your point, and I'm not going to convince you. I understand it. I've explained to you what the basis for the reasons why we've advocated
You have
for.
to call it's either you call it one thing or the other. It's either
So
addictive or
this
it's
is
not.
Tyler.
That's all I'm saying.
This is what respect is, and let's let people finish their sentences before you cut them
Sir, you
off.
talk for
When
45
you,
seconds just so people can't get a point, and then anytime.
so I'm sorry to have to cut him off, but that's just nonsense. Let's see. I think Heather is next. Heather, you're up. You can unmute yourself.
I am pro 7OH, and I love how Tyler came out and said that kratom is addictive, and you let him have his say until he said that he was pro 7OH. So I just wanted to say thank you to Tyler. Honestly, kratom made me very sick to my stomach, and I do have a very serious illness that I need pain medication for, and I can't take kratom for that. So 7OH has really absolutely helped me be able to live a normal life. So I'm very disappointed in your actions.
Understood. I've been upfront about it. I think that the actions that to the extent that there is a disappointment factor, really needs to be with the scientists who have made the evaluation that the synthetic versions of a alkaloid, I'm sorry, metabolite of the kratom plant material, is synthetically derived and therefore unsafe. And Heather, I don't think you would agree, maybe I'm wrong, that they can market 7.5 milligrams and then go up to 30 milligrams and then go up to 85 milligrams and then go up to 200 milligrams. I don't think you would agree that that's safe if they don't have science that backs it up. I don't know whether you would eat 2 pounds of 7-OH material, as was advocated by the heart representative before the Massachusetts legislature. I think every one of us has a duty to be responsible. And in this case, you can take your comment and your experience and you can report that to the DEA in the comment period, which you
I
have
will. Yeah,
every right to do. I would encourage you to do it because
absolutely.
that will inform them about your experience. And if there are a sufficient number of people that be able to report that experience that offsets with the FDA's evaluation of the safety profile. And I would encourage you to go to the FDA website and see their report that they publish. We'll put it on our website tomorrow, and you can pull it from us too. But they identify what the safety risks are, and I respect the fact that people should be able to use whatever they want that makes them feel better. I
Yes,
actually
absolutely.
I
Right.
actually am a libertarian on that view. But what is clear is that you have a group of manufacturers who are obviously escalating the potency of their products in a dramatic way. And what the FDA has determined addicts people very quickly.
So
And
it's the advertising that you have a issue mainly with. It's not the product itself. It's
no,
advertising.
no, well, advertising is only part of it. When you have a potency of a product at 200 milligrams and you don't have a shred of scientific evidence to say that that's safe, that's a problem. And by the way, I have the AKA has reported more than 100 kratom manufacturers, kratom, not 7OH, to the FDA because they are marketing their products illegally and they are formulating them improperly. So this
Well,
is
marketing.
I'm not
Yes,
selecting
that's marketing.
7OH. I'm not selecting 7OH from that. I think everybody has a responsibility going forward. So
Absolutely.
that's the bottom line.
I understand, but I think Tyler's issue was that, we have supported, AKA for a very long time, and it's very disappointing to see such a strong resistance to 7OH and not seeing the benefits. And it sounds like your main argument is purely just the advertising.
You didn't hear me correctly.
The use of the advertising and the way it's being marketed, but the product itself is very effective.
Again, I will make this very, very clear. The basis of the objection of the AK to 7OH is that, and I said it over and over again, was that they do not have the safety science documentation to justify market entry. Their own scientists stood before, and I've got the video of it and the transcript of it, said, we have not done any science. This was in January. We've
So
not
can
done
you push
any.
for the science
Heather,
to
let
be
me
done
finish.
so that
Heather,
they
listen, will you please let me finish? You accused me of saying
do
just
not raise your
about,
voice to me. Do not raise your voice to me.
Caitlin or Heather. I will say,
Yes, Heather.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's Heather, not Caitlin.
Okay, Heather, look, you can nitpick at me all you want. I will tell you that I have not objected to the marketing. That's only one component of it. My objection from the AK's perspective is that there is no science, none.
Let's push for that then.
Heather, you let me finish my point.
Do not raise your voice to me, please.
You're okay. I will try to do.
I'm speaking to you respectfully. Please
No, you're not.
return the
No, you're
courtesy.
not. No, because what you
I,
said.
I have been.
So what you said, Heather, was that I based everything on the advertising, and I did not. I based it on the failure of the manufacturer
You just muted me. Why did you do that,
because you
sir?
keep
Why
cutting
did
me
you
off.
do that? No, that is rude. I was not talking over you.
Okay, you absolutely were. Uh, Everything that was based here, we've done, is based on the science, the lack of science. and their own scientists said it. And Tyler and Heather can come in here as advocates for 7OH. They need to take that case to the DEA. They're welcome to do so. And there you have it. So I'm gonna go now. One last question. Now, before I do that, we've got a bunch of Q&As. I'm hoping that we can retain those, and then I'll try to do a separate video where I go through and answer those questions, and we'll distribute it. But all of you have been very patient. This has been a long discussion, an important discussion, a seminal moment for us, as I said. So I'm going to go to the last one, which is Jay. And Jay, you're now free to unmute yourself and talk.
Hey, Mac, are you able to hear me okay? I'm just making sure.
We can, yes.
So I just want to say, as a libertarian myself, I'm very much against the drug war. I'm very much against it. I'm against the criminal prosecution. It bothers me a lot. You talk about the potency is kind of like the mean, one of the major concerns that you have about it. But we've got Everclear out there, we've got Bacardi 151, we've got all these, all this alcohol that people they drink too much of, they're high potency, but it's still out there, it's labeled, it's tested. So why not just push for the labeling and the testing and not for the the criminalization, the imprisonment, which is really what this is going to lead to, which is what really bothers me.
Yeah, this is an excellent point, and I get it. My view on this is that the threat that 7OH poses in the marketplace is that it will ban all kratom products. And so we are now in a balancing act because we know that the 7OH people refuse to provide any scientific evidence that documents they should. I've told them you should withdraw your products and then get the science together, then come onto the market, then we'll be fine. But they're the ones chasing the almighty dollar at the expense of the safety of the consumers who will be implicated. The regular kratom consumers are implicated, and we've seen that in Texas, we've seen it in Louisiana, and we've seen it in Connecticut, and I've seen it in many other states too. So it's a balancing act. It's very tough for us to.
I have a differing opinion. I feel like we could be all on the same side of this. And if the DEA and the FDA want to come at us, we can say, hey, let's rumble together. I just don't see why we have to get divided here. I really think we're all on the same page. And I really don't want to see the drug war expanded. I think it's been an abysmal failure from the start. I think prohibition doesn't work. I just see this as the wrong way forward. And I really hope that the AKA kind of looks internally and kind of realizes what the drug war in general is doing to our society, to the relationship between police and civilians, to every facet of society. And I think as libertarians, especially, we should all be on board with ending the drug war. I just feel very strongly about this, and I appreciate you taking my call and listening to what I have to say. So thank you.
Yeah, glad to. And I guess the only point I would make in response to that is that I sat with the representatives of one of the major manufacturers of the 7OH products, and I believed the claim because I did it in good faith that they had the requisite science that was required in order for market entry. I believe that. I also believed that they were going to quit calling their products Kratom. They failed on both of those things. So I don't need to come back to the table and be lied to again as a basis for saying, oh, well, we can all live together when the clearly important issues are consumer safety. So I think I lean heavily to the position that you have articulated with respect to the drug war. I do, but I know that it's a balancing act here, which has made it completely difficult for us to be able to navigate unless we want to throw everything into the banned category. And then you do have the black market. So these are difficult issues. I appreciate the respectful way you've done it. I think that notwithstanding the differences that I had with talking with Heather and with the other fellow, that's just life. I mean, we can have these disagreements, but I appreciate how respectful you've been very much. So with that,
you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, let's just wrap this up, and I'll say thank you to everyone. I'm gonna give one more person who I happen to know, have immense respect for, and that's Soren Shade. Soren was at the event today, and I think he brings a valuable perspective. So Soren, I'm gonna allow you to speak. You need to unmute yourself. You'll be the last one, I promise, for everyone. But you're on mute, Soren. So maybe I made a bad call here because Soren's not able to navigate unmuting himself. I'm going to ask him to unmute one more time. Okay, so that obviously didn't work. So I'll conclude with this. Of all of the questions that are on here, I'm hopeful that our support team can save those. And as I say, I'll go back and do a video and answer them as best I can. I can see some of them are pretty important questions that we didn't get to. This world is not perfect. We have some big challenges, huge challenges with respect to preserving the consumer's access to safely formulated and properly labeled Kratom products. And one of those challenges, and it's a huge one, is evidenced by the FDA and the HHS decision today to recommend scheduling of the synthetics. That is the differentiation that I think makes the huge difference in the Kratom community. These are synthetic products. They are not natural Kratom. They have the ability to get onto the market if they go to the FDA and they seek market permission, either as a new drug, which I agree is extreme, or as a new dietary ingredient. They can do that. And as a synthetic, they were required to do it because it is certainly not anything that was available prior to the DSHEA cutoff of October 15th of 1994. And the requirement for all new products like that have to come on to the market, have to be cleared by the FDA. So that pathway is there. And the fact that we're now drawing the line on synthetics that we are going to support from the AKA is because of the threat to consumers. So that's our position. I know that it's not universally agreed to. I've appreciated those that disagree with us, who did it respectfully. I apologize to those that chose to be disrespectful, that I had to cut them off. It's not my style. I try to be as patient and understanding as I can, but there are lines that cannot be crossed when it comes to having these discussions. And I think those individuals, unfortunately, that I did. If I was wrong about that, you can certainly weigh in with me. I invite anyone that chooses to email me and have discussions. And to the extent that I'm able to, I will be glad to get back to you and have these discussions. Thanks to everyone. We're going to close it off now, and we are going to have obviously more updates. This is going to be a very dynamic exercise where the notification that will be published in the Federal Register by the DEA will set forth the number of days that a comment period will be open, anywhere from 30 to 60 days. And during that comment period, there will then be the opportunity for people to provide information, and then the DEA will have a deliberation of those. And at some point after the closing of the public comment period, they will make a decision about whether to proceed with the scheduling of synthetic 7-OH products. So thanks to everyone. Again, I appreciate the effort that you made and your patience, because many of you stayed on through the end of it. We'll stay tuned for more of these discussions